park, it's intended that this will be surfing recreation as the primary component, and thus doesn't require lifeguard towers. You don't have swimmers, but you have a high volume of impact injuries and cuts and that type of thing. So one person watching from up here with a pair of high-power binoculars, at one time we had emergency phones on the beach. People could just pick the phones up and the rings here to a switchboard. The San Onofre State Beach extends, we have 1.5 miles of beach, then there's a little over half a mile of a military beach, and then there's what's called San Onofre Surf Beach, famous from the Beach Boys Surfing USA, places like Old Man's and Dogpatch, very iconic. Surfing in Southern California really, this is the crucible, dating to about 1933, 31, somewhere in that zone. Then there's a nuclear power plant right in the heart of the state park, a little complex issue there. And then we have 3.5 miles of beach south of the nuclear power plant. As you drive down the Coast Highway, you can see where the old Coast Highway has been turned into a campground. And that beach is high bluffs, 100 feet, plus trails that drop down to White Sand beaches. So 5.5 miles in total, but with little breaks in it. And then this valley that extends back up nearly 3 miles inland to San Mateo Creek. And then we go up what's called Christianita's Creek, and back up to the very back end of San Clemente, and almost to the a little short of the riverside, San Diego. There's a junction of 3 counties. So as we came in, we came through a gate that is only open during the 3 major surfing events that we allow each year out here at the point, Lower Trestles. I'll walk over here and I'll do the rest of the discussion. As you're walking here, you're walking on 1912 concrete, Coast Highway, Highway 1. From the earliest period, prior to this, it was the diameter or the toe of this bluff, and it deposits right down here behind that elderberry bush. That's the preserve in the marsh, and you can see there's a footpath been created through the marsh. Just of late, there's been enough evaporation that the water table is drawn down to a point where the surfers are creating their own paths. This is a dry path that back up the riparian area really ends when we get into a dry scrub, and that trail is open year-round. As it gets even drier, the surfers will come down the path, make a right-hand turn, and walk on the track to just short of the yellow sign, this side of the and create new paths through the reeds. So that's the environmental impact. This is one of the places that is going to have waves no matter what. That's what the draw is. And because of the cobblestone bottom, the configuration doesn't change a lot, and the surf has this consistent quality, and again, considered the best year-round break in North America. The desire to hold surfing competitions here is huge. We have amended our policy over the years. We only allow 3 events a year out here, and they are the highest level events in the nation. Highest level amateur event is coming up. The event that happens in the spring is what's called a qualifier for the World Tour, and it's a 6-star prime, highest prize purse, draws the biggest names in surfing. And then the event in September is the World Tour event, which is the top 44 surfers in the world. So this is the apex of surfing exhibitions or competitions in North America when we have these events. And the demand to come see the world's best surfers, you can imagine, here we are in Southern California, we could draw 10,000, 15,000 people if we had the capacity to put them here. We do not. Oh, back to how Nike got involved. Every year that these events have been going on, which about 10 years with a major world tour event. The host sponsor, be it Billabong, Quicksilver, O'Neill, you've heard of all these companies as the surf clothing, cultural icons of the lifestyle. As they would come here for their permits, we would discuss, hey, you can't be, we'll open this up, but you can't have the public walking down here to a public event, crossing the track illegally. We know it happens 365 days a year, but you have a special event and you're taking out insurance, hoping we have no accidents. The state will dictate that you have to have a shuttle bus. Problem again with surfers is shortest distance between 2 points. They come down here and that's their destination. Easier to turn right and cut a trail through there. And that trail will probably be here by next week with all these kids showing up. Until Nike became engaged and through Hurley, which is owned by Nike, and having a very responsible view and approach, they reached out to Architecture for Humanity, and this idea or this concept of let's see what we could come up with if we get all the good minds thinking about what this could look like. Let's design something and get a concept that we can present to the public.
Has the wetland been receding, or because I've been kind of looking at this area here, and specifically it looks like it might be kind of moving down a little bit, or receding towards the...
That's a very good question. During the El Nino years of 81 and 83, we had a tremendous amount of rainfall. When we hit about 12 inches of total rainfall, we start to get close to saturation. The marsh will be filling up, and there'll be a big sand berm down at the mouth of San Mateo Creek. You can see a little bit of the top of the steel bridge as the track starts across, and there's a large lagoon there. We're not going to hike up there, but it's definitely on the far side of it is the actual wooden trestle, which from a design standpoint, it's what gives this place its name. But the actual footprint of the marsh, during that year we had an exceptionally high sand berm, and the water backed all the way up down past the dry crossing and perhaps another 50 yards beyond before it finally breached at that end. But even once it breaches, it takes still about 10 days for the water to recede enough. But it hits kind of its natural level. The creek's flowing, but this area will be holding water. The creek typically will dam itself up by March, if not sooner, depending on the rainfall. And then just the course of evaporation and transpiration, the water drops out of this, and again allows the dry crossings. But the surfers will start going through here even when it's still wet and saturated, just stomping the reeds down and kind of building that.
So you can visually see that it's wet during a really heavy El Nino?
Yeah, when we get right down to that spot, you're going to see where the high water line is.